Hey everyone, this is Josh Scott of JHS Pedals, and I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana at Sweetwater. Late last night, I broke into the Sweetwater campus, passed a bunch of security guards, like poisoned a dog, did all kinds of stuff, and I hacked into their computer system, and I have in my hands the top selling 1,000 guitar pedals of Sweetwater's history. Right here. It's all right here. So I'm gonna go through them all. I brought a bunch of vintage units from my museum. I'm going to tell you why they're cool, why you should look at them, and why they're on the list. I can't do 1,000 because that's insane, and I have to eat dinner like in a little while. So I'm going to throw away, it's going to hurt, throwing away 500. Painful. All right, let's go. It's the worst idea I've ever had. I'm going to start at 510 because I can. I know I said 500. So 510 is the Q-Tron by Electro-Harmonix. Why is this pedal awesome? Because it's one of the foundational developments of envelope filter in the guitar world. It's awesome. So the envelope filter is designed by these synthesizer geniuses like Tom Oberheim, but then you put it in a guitar and it does some really cool stuff. The origins go back to these big, giant, dare I say, chungus enclosures. Now we have the mini enclosure. Yeah, so number 510 of my favorite pedals on the list of the 500. I know I just broke every rule because I'm like 10 above the 500. You get the point. I'm starting with this. Now let's go on to number 498. Number 498 is another Electro-Harmonix pedal. We're going to be seeing quite a few because they're amazing. It's the GoodVibes Uni-Vibe Vibrato. Uni-Vibe Vibrato is important. It shows up a lot on this list because it is a fundamental effect in guitar. It was created in 1968 by a Japanese engineer named Fumio Maeda. He was replicating the sound of Russian propaganda airwaves bouncing off the atmosphere in Japan. It would swoosh and phase out the signal on his radio, and he created it. This is an original unit. We first see this become a big deal when Jimi Hendrix uses it for the first time on stage at Woodstock to play the Star Spangled Banner, his protest against the Vietnam War. So if you want this sound, the GoodVibes is a good way to get that sound. At number 495, we have the way huge SwollenPickle Jumbo Fuzz. This is an amazing pedal because it is an extremely modified Electro-Harmonix Big Muff. I've mentioned Electro-Harmonix every time. Congratulations, Electro-Harmonix. This is made by George Trips, and the company was Way Huge, an original boutique company from the 90s that shut down prematurely because George got a job for Line 6 and helped develop the DL4, which we'll talk about later. The original units are super, super cool, but these reissues are awesome because Dunlop bought the name, brought George on, and like reissued his original line. They've done an amazing job. And if you like fuzz and the sound of a big muff, it's kind of hard to beat this. They even have a mini one. I don't have the mini one here, but there's a mini one. And sometimes people like you want mini things, or you can have a big one. Big or small, doesn't matter. It's really good. At number 494, we have an absolute sleeper pedal that all of you should own, and if you don't own it, you should feel really bad. It is the SansAmp G2T by Tech 21. Tech 21 is one of my favorite companies ever in the pedal world, but they're kind of thrown into the direct box category preamp thing, and it really bothers me. This pedal's amazing because it is the first, I think it's the first, I'll say it is. I feel confident saying it's the first cab amp simulator pedal. And here's what's ironic. With all the fancy dancy stuff that's come out in the last bajillion years since this is still equally good. It's all analog, it's genius, and here's a vintage unit, beat up real nice. These got a lot of popularity when Kurt Cobain started using these with his DS2 in the In Utero era. So if you like Nirvana, you could own one of these. Or if you just want really good guitar tone and want to try something different than the run-of-the-mill stuff that people love on the forums, try the G2T. It always confuses me. G2T. Try it out. At number 465 is a JHS pedal. I hear that JHS is one of the worst companies ever, but I'm going to show it anyway. It's the HauntingMids. This pedal was a Halloween joke. I made a circuit, put a ghost on it, and I called it HauntingMids because people refer to their guitar tone as having haunting mids. And I just thought that was funny because it doesn't make any sense. How are mids haunting? How can you really haunt something with a mid frequency? Anyway, I put it out limited. People love it. They want it. So I ended up releasing it almost a year later as an actual product. And this is it. And apparently it's on the list. This actually shocks me. It's a really cool, powerful, versatile, active EQ for the mid-range only. So you put it before or after your drive pedals and you can reshape your favorite drives. So you have a volume, mids, and the sweep of the mids and a high-low. It's really simple. There's nothing to compare it to because it's literally just a mid control in a box. But apparently people like it. I'm proud of it. At number 452 is the first pedal from this venture of mine that we just don't have in stock here. It sells so well that it's out of stock. It's the Xotic EPBooster. It's a little tiny boost. There's a picture of it on the screen. I don't have one here with me. Sweetwater's out of them. There's a drought. So if you have one, be grateful. If you don't have one, get in line. At number 443 is, you guessed it, an Electro-Harmonix pedal. It is the LPB1. That stands for Linear Power Booster, and it is the first single transistor boost on the market. I'm pretty sure of this. Cool story. Mike Matthews is making pedals for Guild, and he wants to have his own pedal. So he finds this engineer from Bell Labs named Bob Meyer. He says, Bob, you're a genius. Can you make me a distortion-free sustain pedal? He goes to Bob's house. He's kind of like, man, this is too complicated. I don't know. And it's not loud enough. So Bob Meyer runs to his workbench, comes back to the dining room table where they're at, and creates a little transistor stage from a textbook and amplifies it. Mike hears it, freaks out, and makes the LPB1. And this is the very first Electro-Harmonix pedal product. It actually wasn't a pedal, it's a plug-in thing. And I have the original box here. This is the first unit ever made. This is how Electro-Harmonix started. It's super cool. I have like rotted paper and manual in there. Look at that. Super cool. It's how it started, and to this day, it still sells because it works really well. It's really simple. And if you use small amps, it makes a great overdrive to push those, or put it before your pedals now to overdrive them more, or just put it at the end of your board to make everything a little bit louder for a solo. At number 433 is a good friend and an amazing designer of overdrive pedals. Probably one of the best I've ever heard. It's Brian Wampler's Plexi-Drive. There's like different sizes and variations and versions over the years, but if you want the sound of a cranked Marshall Plexi, that JTM 45, the vintage kind of Hendrix to AC/DC Marshall sound, even though I make a pedal that does this, I think his is better. And I'm okay with that because there is no better. I just think this is really good. You can try mine out. It's called the Charlie Brown, but this pedal's awesome. This is an older version. This is from my museum. I love this pedal. It's hard to beat it. Now it's mini, so I guess he beat it. But either way, if you like old school classic rock tones, buy this. Next up is number 398. I've skipped tons of stuff. It's bothering me. There's stuff on the list. Like, this would be a 25-hour video, and they don't allow that here. Their cameras will start getting hot and shut down. So I have to keep going. At 398, we have, in my opinion, the best Boss drive pedal, the most underrated drive pedal possibly ever made, and the drive pedal that you've ignored, and you should feel bad about it. It's the Boss OD3. It's really good. It's really cheap. It's made by Boss. It looks classy. Look at that. Look how classy this looks. You need to buy this. This all starts because Boss is really good at overdrives. Here's an OD1 original box. This is the first soft clipping pedal for the mass market. It predates the Tube Screamer. The Tube Screamer's a clone of this with an added tone control and a couple different resistor and diode values. Boss did overdrive as early as anyone, yet they don't really get the credit for the OD3. That bothers me. You should be ashamed of yourself. At 396, from the shores of Akron, Ohio, I don't actually think there's a body of water there. It is Jamie Stillman and Earthquaker Devices SpecialCranker. This is a brand new pedal, so this is impressive that it's on the 396 spot, right? Because this is like a few months old, but it deserves it because it is a genius circuit. Here's the version 1 speaker cranker. This is one of my favorite pedals all time. Brought it from home to show this. He updated it. It's $99 to go along with the plumes kind of thing they were doing, where he has the plumes is like a tube screamer, amazing modded thing from him. And then this is like, he took his own classic circuit, spiced it up in the same price range. So it's no shocker really that it jumped up into the sales bracket at that point. This is a phenomenal circuit that originally was based around a really famous electro distortion, which is a transistor circuit with hard clipping, diodes, pretty strange, but it's been used in hundreds of boutique pedals, and his take was very, very cool and very different. And then he further adapted it so it's kind of left that land and become its own unique thing with the added toggle, the tone control. It's great. If you're looking for an overdrive that's not a tube screamer, not a blues breaker, and one that really does sound like you turned your amp up, like a little bit unruly but manageable, you should check this out. I just learned that Akron does have shores, and I feel super smart. Like, I feel good about that. Next up, 387. It's a JHS pedal. And it's a little bit shocking. It's the JHS 3 Series Overdrive. So 99 bucks in Overdrive. 3 Series means they all have 3 knobs. They have 1 toggle for a setting. And the idea is it's just a blank canvas. It's something simple to use, and it sounds good, and it's affordable. So this pedal is unique-ish. It's based off of the HAO Rumble Drive. This is a friend of mine from Japan, a really brilliant engineer who designs stuff for Gaiatone, Takamine. He's really intelligent and a great overdrive designer. This company's defunct, so I actually took this circuit, and it's just a tribute to him, really. His name's Toshi. He's amazing. I love this pedal. Rumble's a play on Dumble, although I'm not sure what a Dumble sounds like because I played 10 of them and they all sound different. I think it's like maybe a scam. I don't know, but this pedal sounds really good. At number 366, we have a pedal that emulates the sound of a moving rotary cabinet. Now, these rotary cabinets were first seen with Hammond organs, and there's literally a cone that rotates on the top like this in a Doppler motion, and in the bottom there's a sub, and people started plugging their guitars into this. We hear this on Beatles songs, like there's all kinds of people just started using them in the early 70s, late 60s. And who wants to tour with a Leslie cabinet? If you've ever seen one, it's like the weight of like a Prius. Who makes a Prius? Is it Honda? Toyota Prius. You don't want to travel with a thing that's the size of a Prius. So Strymon made the Lex. There are a lot of emulators of the rotary sound, but the rotary sound's really complex. This was the first pedal I ever really played where I was like, they actually got it. And to this day, there's some great brands out there that make really good stuff. I still just like this one. So if you want the sound of a rotary cabinet on your guitar, this is the first place I would look. At number 365, we have a Danelectro pedal, and this makes me super proud because I'm a Danelectro fanboy. They make these tiny pedals, they're food themed, they break, they don't break, it's a gamble, but they sound amazing, and they have the pedals from before that kind of look like a Cadillac, and they're made out of solid iron. You can like nail a nail in the wall with them. Incredible pedals. Now, during that era, the first era, they had these funkier things that came out. There's like this flanger, there's a sitar swami pedal, great name, and then there's the BackTalkDly. This is the most perfect and amazing reverse delay pedal I've ever heard to this day, and they reissued it. We're out of them here at Sweetwater. So this is part 2 of, hey, we're out of the pedal, but here's the original unit. These are selling, one sold for like 800 bucks. It made me like kind of gag in my mouth a little bit. That's a lot of money. You can just buy the new one. At number 350 is an Electro-Harmonix pedal. Wow, what a shocker. This is the Synth 9. There is an entire series of 9 pedals. All I need you to know is these are not a gimmick. They are freakishly good, and it's maddening how smart they are. There's an engineer at Electro-Harmonix. I will not disclose his name because I don't think I'm supposed to. He's a genius. He's the only person on earth who knows how this circuit works. I'm almost positive of this. Like, I've heard some chatter. He is literally brilliant. He's designed stuff forever for Mike. And you just need to try these out. We're going to see a couple more on the list, but go look at the 9 series. This makes your guitar literally sound like a synth. And I know you're thinking, whatever. No, it really does. And it's like, it's witchcraft. At number 341 from Akron, Ohio again, who has shores. I think we've covered this point, but you need to know there is water there. The DataCorrupter. There's nothing like it. It's big. It has a lot of knobs. It has a lot of shapes. It has words all over it. It has numbers, intervals, octaves, subharmonics, oscillators, glide, vibrato, root. It's bonkers. And I'm picking it because it's one of the craziest pedals ever made. And if you like weird stuff, you got to try this. And it's $350 all time. So that means there's a lot of weird people buying pedals and you want weird sounds. So if you haven't bought this, you missed out. At number 339 is an Electro-Harmonix pedal. It's the B9. It's an organ, not a synth. It's the organ one. I just got to keep showing these because they're crazy. It sounds like an organ. It's really nuts. And it covers like 9 versions of organs. So you can do the Doors thing, kind of the Farfisa Monkeys sound, or you could do like the big Dark Side of the Moon B3 sound. It does it all. I'm not jealous, right? As a pedal builder, I'm not jealous of these at all. It's fine. I don't wish I'd made them at all. At 333 is the JHS Kilt. Thanks. That's all I know to say. This is probably, if JHS has a sleeper pedal that people just don't yet realize. When people latch onto this, the comments are crazy. The way I see people using them. It's a really versatile overdrive, distortion, and fuzz with a red remote switch. I don't know how to explain it. It's just really interesting and different. I based it off the old classic Expandora. This is a really wild Japanese distortion pedal that had all these internal dip switches. It's round, so it's a nightmare on a pedal board, and you have to take the back off to change the switches, and it's round. Did I mention it's round? Switch doesn't make any sense on a board. It's round. So I made a square one and made it like what I think is better. And that's not a Dalek from that British show about aliens or whatever, time travel, the phone booth show. I don't know what it is. Let's move on. At number 332, we're out of this pedal again. This is basically an episode about pedals you can't buy anymore because the world's weird and you can't make anything anymore, and it's fine. But it's called the Badstone. It's by Electro-Harmonix. We don't have the new one, but I brought a treat from the museum. What I'm about to show you. I love EH. I love Mike, but I need to say this. This is the ugliest pedal in the history of pedals. What I'm about to show you. It's the V1 of the Badstone. What is that? Is that a mummy? Is it a dead person? It's the worst graphic I've ever seen, and you just have to see it. Honestly, this whole thing's an excuse for me to show you this graphic because I couldn't figure out any other way to bring up the Badstone. Yep, not jealous of that. This image has no context. He's being phased. At 321, we have the Boss AC3 acoustic simulator. You play electric guitar, but you wish you were strumming around a campfire, you plug up the AC3. It's pretty shockingly good. I see it on pro boards when you need to just have that strummy strum acoustic thing going on and you need to move on. It's hated, it's liked, and by some it's loved. You should check it out. At 319, we have another Boss pedal that I'm a huge fan of. It's from the Wazacraft line. If you're not familiar with the Wazacraft, it's like they're taking these classic things that they made, reintroducing them into the market in a new way with what they call like a vintage modern or vintage custom mode. So you're getting like a classic discontinued thing with a new version of it. It's really, really exciting. This all kind of starts with Boss releasing the FZ2. This is a very coveted fuzz pedal. You don't think of Boss for fuzz, but honestly, this is one of the better fuzz pedals ever made. It's consistent. It's on so many famous session rigs and stuff. It's crazy. This is the newer take on that evolution. There's FZ up to this. You know, like there's way more FZs, but they went back and did FZ1W, and it's great. It's a classic fuzz face style tone, but it can get more into the tone bender land. And if you push it with the right pickups, even like big muff land. So it's very versatile, boss quality. You could drop it out of an airplane, no problem, I guess. Never tried it. You should try it. At number 316, we have the pedal company from Rochester, New York, and the genius Keith Barr. It is the Distortion Plus. This came out in 1974 and was part of a new wave of distortion called hard clipping. We see this, the DoD 250. A few years later, we see the Rat. Then a year later, we see the DS1 and so on. And this was a distortion pedal that changed distortion pedals. It's very, very important. We don't have the new ones. I think they're out of stock, but I do have a late 70s MXR ashtray I brought just to show you. It's like a humble brag. You know, some people have pedals and then some people have the stupid stuff that came near the pedals. I like to imagine Keith Barr at NAMM smoking endlessly, just smoking mass amounts of cigarettes, putting them out in this, making deals, wheeling and dealing, and then, you know, getting back on a plane, going to Rochester, eating some wings or something. I don't know. It's a good pedal. You should check it out. At number 311, it's an Electro-Harmonix pedal. It is the Holy Grail reverb. This is the reverb I've used the most in my short life. I have had it on so many boards. The spring setting is phenomenal. The hall setting is unbeatable. And the flurb setting is the stupidest reverb sound I've ever heard. And it's okay to say that because someone out there loves it and you're awesome. You're awesome. But flanger reverb is not my vibe. And it's okay. I'm not hating. Actually, you know I love it. If you know me, you know I love this company. I'm just saying flurb, I don't know. Flurb is a wild thing that should be reined in forever. It's like in Jurassic Park when they're trying to kill the dinosaurs that like got out and you got to save the world. Someone needs to lock it up. Lock the flurb up. Nobody uses it. It was in a big case originally. Small case, same thing. There's arguments online. People have lost their lives over saying that this is better than this. It's ridiculous. They're all the same. It's also the first pedal, arguably one of the first pedals to use a technology called the FV1 or the spin chipset, which Keith Barr of MXR invented. And a lot of pedal companies have used that, including myself. It's like this digital playground for DSP. This was a very early user of that. You didn't need to know it, but now you know it. Now you're smarter. At 294, from the shores of southern Indiana. Do we have shores there? So there's like the lake up. No, there's not. It's Brian Wampler's Terraform. This was Brian's leap into DSP. He didn't even like dab his toe. He just jumped off the Olympic diving board and made this incredibly powerful presets, multi-modes. It's insane. It's really good. I'm really glad to see it on the list because he deserves it. I remember talking to him through the development of this, which seemed like 10 years. We would like meet each other at NAMM and talk, and it was like never going to happen. And then he puts it out, and here it is on the list. I'm marking it off right now. Good job, Brian. At number 288, we have a JHS pedal. Just shameless plug here. Shameless plug. JHS pedal, the Emperor V2. The Emperor is a pedal I'm really proud of. It's a true Bucket Brigade chorus vibrato with tap tempo, multiple waveforms, expression output, which locks it into a rotary cabinet space of speed, lower toe and higher toe, and that is locked in to an actual Leslie I own. Really cool, fun thing that we did there. And it has an EQ on it, and it's really awesome. A lot of people don't know this, but it is birthed from this classic Arion SCH1, very legendary pedal. It's used by tons of famous session players, but it's made of the most fragile plastic you've ever seen, held, or looked at. And so took that circuit out, implemented all of that cool tech, and kept its heart, but gave it all these new abilities. One interesting fact about this that you might enjoy is it has a tone control, which is very strange for a chorus. And the tone control is actually a big muff tone control inserted over the top of a Bucket Brigade chorus circuit, much like the Boss CE2. And that's weird and cool. And now you know. At number 278 is another JHS pedal. I have to pick them because they are some of my favorite pedals, because I gave my life to these pedals. I have lived my whole life to make guitar pedals, and I'm just hoping I don't regret that when I die. I need to really pick the pep up here and move on. So the Whitey Tidy is based around a pedal I previously released called the Pulp and Peel. And the Pulp and Peel is based around a famous Dan Armstrong plug-in unit called the Orange Squeezer. So what happened is I took the Orange Squeezer. This is the original box, by the way. We got like a sales receipt in here. It plugs in. You ever seen these? Really cool. It's used on like Dire Straits records, Steely Dan, Asia. There's some Orange Squeezer on there. It's the compressor for people. Uh-oh, can't get it back in there. It's gonna bother me. It's the compressor for people who don't like compressors. So I made that Pulp and Peel. And then it became complicated because I learned all this stuff and made it fancy. And I just stripped it down and made a simple version. And I call it the Whitey Tidy. And I thought it was a good name because what compressors do is they tighten up the low end, right? They compress things. They hold things together. And that's what a good pair of underwear does. And that's why I named it that. At 275, that's a lot of pedals left. I'm going to do this. 275, we have the Boss BF3. B is for Boss, F is for flanger, 3 is for the third iteration of it, which is actually the second iteration. No, it's the third. There's a BF1, but it's in a different enclosure. I'm off track here, but it's the BF3, and it kind of really started with the compact BF2, even though there is an earlier BF1 in a non-compact format before 1977 when they went to the compact. I'm getting into the weeds, but it's the flanger of flangers. And if you've ever hated on Boss, you're not my friend. Never will be. At number 272, this might be the shocker on the list for me because it's new and it's by a company who's not a pedal company. They're a very good company. They make pro audio replicas and things. And I remember having a discussion on the phone with them when he was saying, I might do some pedals. And I was like, super cool. And then he did these pedals and he like went to the T, like he replicated things so well, it's mind-boggling. Let me show you. This pedal is the Foxy Tone Box. Now, it's furry. I used to have this little alligator toy when I was a kid, and I remember peeling this stuff off. It was like fascinating. It's like the weirdest memory. And then when I realized what this was, it was the Fox Tone Machine. Now, this is from a guy who actually is the guy Steve Redinger, who started Danelectro in the 90s. But when he was a teenager in the early 70s, he had a company and he called it Fox. And this was super successful. They had a phaser that Queen used. This tone machine's on tons of records. It's an octave fuzz. And this technique here, this fuzzy, weird, almost unclean feeling surface, now decades later, is called flocking. So you actually put this fabric on and you shock it with electricity and it stands up and it's crazy. That's like actually what they do. It's called flocking. They went so far with the replica that they flocked the enclosure. Where do you find a flocker in 2022? What is a flocker? Is that even the term? I don't know how to flock anything. I know how it works. I'm so impressed with the flocking, I don't even care how it sounds, but apparently it sounds good because it's 272 on the list, and I've played it, it's amazing, but he actually flocked it. What other pedal at Sweetwater is flocked? None. At number 265, we have an Electro-Harmonix pedal. It is the Micro Pog. There's a Nano Pog now. I don't know how they separate the SKUs. I don't really care. This is a classic octave up, octave down, super low latency, freakishly good. Again, Electro-Harmonix DSP is, as the kids say, off the chain. It's really good. This is the micro Pog, and the reason it's called micro is because the original Pog wasn't micro, right? You get it? This is big Pog, micro Pog, and there's a Nano. But imagine putting this on your board. You gotta really want that octave sound. I'd almost hire another guitar player to just play octaves. At 258, we have the TC Electronics Mojo Mojo. I gotta say, I'm having to skip over so many great pedals by friends, by people I admire. This is tough. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. This is the most important thing I've ever done. I'm married, I have kids, I've run a business. This moment though is it. There's nothing I'll ever do more important than this. And when I skip over a brand, it's like I'm slapping them in the face, and I don't want to do that. But there's the Mojo Mojo. I'm showing this because Paul Gilbert showed it to me. He uses it, and then I have a signature pedal with Paul, and they're very different. And this really floored me. It's super cheap. The topology is somewhat original. Nothing is really, but this is sort of original, and it just sounds really good. And it has a switch called 11. I think this is the Paul Gilbert color. I think there's a red looking maroon blood color, and then there's this. Yeah, Paul Gilbert. This is the same thing, different color, but the switch says 11. So you go to 11. It's a reference to a movie you might know. I just want to show it because it's really good, and I love TC. Number 256 is the JHS Clover, a pedal I'm very, very proud of. It has an XLR out. It is effectively a 3-band active EQ, but you might be saying, that's not exciting. You're wrong. It's based on the Boss FA1 FET preamplifier that has a belt clip. I didn't have the money to do belt clips. Financially strapped when this came out. But this is amazing because it ended up being used by The Edge, one of my favorite guitarists, and there's an album called The Unforgettable Fire. I think it's from '84. I grew up listening to this record against my will because my brother, who's 10 years older, blared it constantly, and we lived in a trailer and the walls were paper thin and it's just constantly playing, like Unforgettable Fire all the time. Daniel Lanois, one of the producers, he handed this to The Edge, I believe, and it ends up being an Overdrive with the Vox amps. It's a super killer pedal. So it's actually not a pedal. That's why I did this, because it's a belt clip leave it on thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It was discontinued. It's weird. So I put the switch on here. I gave you XLR for bass players, for acoustics, and then I gave you options. Well, first of all, I gave you a mids control, which they didn't bother with. And then I gave you the ability to turn on and off different bands. It's like a secret magic trick for some guitar players who've discovered it, whether it's this or the new unit. So check it out, the Clover. And it's a reference to Clovers, Ireland, The Edge, Irish. People ask all the time. That's the chain of events that got the name where it is. At number 255 is another JHS pedal. It is the Bender from the Legends of Fuzz series. We released this from our homes during the pandemic. So there's some early units. They're actually built in the homes and they have a little sticker. If you're a collector, look for that or not. Doesn't really matter. They sound the same. Notice it says 1973 London. I want to explain quickly what that means. So, in 1962, the world's first guitar pedal was made. It is the Maestro FZ1. It was an accidental discovery when a mixer desk exploded internally. Not quite exploded, but the transformer malfunctioned on a Marty Robbins song called Don't Worry. Glenn Snoddy, the engineer, got a hold of Revis Hobbs, a local tinkerer engineer guy. They made this, drove it up to Chicago, sold it to Gibson, and they put it out in 1962. It didn't do that well, but a few years later, later, in 1965, the Rolling Stones released a song called Satisfaction, and in place of a horn part that they could not afford, Keith Richards played the dun-da-da-da-da riff on this. It ended up on the radio, and from that point, the fuzz tone exploded and quite literally changed the trajectory of music, the guitar, and our culture. We literally went from Leave It to Beaver in 1962 to People on Acid in the Mud in 69. The fuzz pedal kind of did that. Now this particular unit, 73, is an exact copy of my favorite vintage tone bender, this 1973, made the 3rd of September in London at Macari's. This is my favorite, and I replicated it perfectly. That's what you're getting here. But what happened is around 65, a London session player brought this in, said, hey, can you modify it? He made the first ever tone benders. The prototypes are in wooden enclosures. This is a replica. If I had a real one, I would quit my job and retire. And then it evolves into this by 73, and that's what the bender is. So if you like fuzz, check it out. At number 251, we have the Rev G4. These are made in Canada, which makes them really cool and polite. But the tone that it makes is really aggressive, really awesome. It actually says aggression. I've never seen a pedal that just says aggression. Like you can choose the aggression level. So if you have an anger problem and you love distortion, this is a pedal you should check out. Nice form factor too. It's classy, but not like untouchable. Like you don't feel bad holding it. But really, it's the aggression thing that sells it. So if you're angry, look no further. At number 244, we have the JHS 3 Series Fuzz. This is one of the pedals I'm most proud of for a few reasons. It's $99, which means it's accessible to everyone who wants a pedal. This is what I'm most proud of. It's based around the fuzz face. So here is an Arbiter England fuzz face. These are like unobtainable. Like you can't find these. And if you do, they're too expensive unless you're insane and have a museum. So there's all this debate over germanium and silicon in certain years and blah, 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 blah. And people just go nuts about it. Yet they've never played one, but they have an opinion. It's madness. It's total madness. So the idea was, after 15, actually more years of tinkering with the fuzz face circuit, it's very simple, but every minor change is drastic. This is my final and favorite recipe I've ever put together on a breadboard, turning it into a circuit and giving it to the public. This is the ultimate fuzz face. I like it more than any fuzz face style pedal I've ever played. I'm okay saying that. I like a lot of other things, but I'm really proud of this. If you like the fuzz face, just try it out. It's $100. Like that's 2 cups of coffee. At number 242, we have the MXR Micro Amp. You saw the Distortion Plus earlier. Let me ask you a question. What happens when you take this pedal, which is effectively an op-amp operational amplifier circuit, which takes your guitar, multiplies the current, makes it louder, and is a boost, but they add diodes in the end, which clips the waveform and creates distortion. What happens when you remove the diodes? You have a micro amp. You just get the clean boost part. It's super underrated, super classic, yet it's on the list at 242, which means somebody understands it. Here's an old original in the box. These do not exist in the script era. That's cursive MXR. You only see them in the block era. So they're a little bit later. This is like so mint, it's painful. Look at that. It's like it's from 79. It's like nobody's even breathed on that. I feel bad touching it. Here's the card. There's a warranty card. Hold on. It's trapped. Here we go. Warranty card. It belonged to Robert Garland. Robert, if you're watching, I have your pedal now. And you never use the sticker. I'm not going to use it. At 222.24, we have a glitch in the matrix. It says micropog again. So I think I misread something earlier. Maybe it was nano or big pog. The point is, the pog's still on the list in another spot as another version because it's awesome. We should move on. Actually, 221's another holy grail. So the first holy grail is really the big box from the historical data, and then the Nano is actually 221. So not only is Electro-Harmonix dominating the list, they're like the same pedals are on it multiple times. Almost isn't fair. At number 212 is an Ibanez pedal. Now Ibanez, I've been wondering where are they at? Where are you at, Ibanez? Here they are. It's the TS9 DX. I'm pretty sure DX is deluxe. At least I like to think about it. It's like when you go to Subway and you get the turkey footlong and you say deluxe, they add a little more meat, right? You get a little more turkey. So that's what this is. It's a tube screamer with a little more stuff. You have a rotary pot, which changes out the clipping sections. This is my favorite stock TS9 that you can buy. TS9 started, of course, with this guy. Yeah, and it's like evolved, whatever. They still make the reissues. It's a good pedal. I think this is overlooked because there's all these boutique Tube Screamer clones and replicas, and really most of them are doing what this does. So just buy this maybe. I'm even saying I even make stuff that does this. You can buy this. You don't have to buy like fancy dancy stuff. You can just actually buy this. Have I said you could buy this? It's on Sweetwater right now. At least there's this one unit, probably out of everything else, but you could buy this one. At number 207, I'm breaking all the rules because it's not a pedal, but I showed the FA1 has a belt clip. The next item has a belt clip. It is the Line 6 Pocket Pod, the ultimate tone for mobile guitarists. Belt clip, battery pack. Here's a vintage unit. This one's in stock at Sweetwater. I'm looking these over. There's a different plastic. The reds are different. Do you see that on the camera? The reds are different. I'm pretty sure they sound different because the reds are different. I would look for vintage ones. I doubt the new ones are any good because I think it's the color. The color of the Pocket Pod is what really makes it sound good. All I'll say is this thing gets made fun of, but from 98 till like 2003, Line 6 sold so much stuff that it couldn't have sucked. It's really good. I did an episode of my show about the pod. It's a really good unit, and then they shrunk it down. I don't know. It's like the Jim Gaffigan bit where he's like, everybody says they don't eat McDonald's, but they sold 1 billion hamburgers. Somebody's lying. You're lying to yourself if you don't think this probably sounds good or that you don't own one. You're probably playing one right now. Like half the audience has been playing a pod the whole video. At number 206, we have an Earthquaker pedal called the Hizumitas. I think that's how you say it. It's this one. This is a fairly recent release. It's really cool. It is a Big Muff copy, right? Right? That's what everybody says. Kinda not right, kinda right. There is a company from Japan called Elk Incorporated. Elk is a big deal. They were kind of like Fender for Japan. They made all kinds of cool stuff. And early on, they made some of the first Big Muff clones. This would have been early 70s, around the EH Ram's Head era, which we see around 73, 74. This is the Super Fuzz Sustainer. There's actually one that just says Big Muff. It's really funny. But this is a clone of the Ram's Head Big Muff, but it's not correct. But it sounds really good, so it's accidentally modified, which makes it interesting. And this is a signature pedal for an artist who used a version of this. The exact unit that Jamie copied, it's actually not. There's several versions of this, but it's Elk. At 204, we have the Line 6 DL4 Mark II. It just came out, like literally a few months ago. It's amazing, but it all started October of 1999 when an amazing team of designers, like a guy named Marcus Ryle for one of the only geniuses ever involved in the pedal world, gathers this team with a guy named Michel Douadic. He gathers George Trips from Way Huge, tons of other people. Like, it's an incredible story. I want to do a documentary on it one day, but this pedal changed the game, and they just recently updated it. There's really nothing to this day that is better than this. DL4, if you haven't played one, you should check one of these out. I would buy this because these foot switches break and it's maddening. This is the Sunset Dual Overdrive. Here's why I like this pedal. Here's why it's important, and here's why you should try it. Strymon are geniuses. They're very good at DSP. This is wonderful because it's a blend of analog overdrive distortion with the conveniences of digital control. So a lot of people hate on digital stuff, right? Those people are boring. They're lame. Don't be boring and don't be lame. And give things like this a shot. So if you're like a tone snob and you only play like expensive boutique overdrives, take a pause, breathe, take a warm bath or something, and then try this because you need to get over it. Like, this is really good. And it's important to guitar pedals evolution. Digital and analog coexisting in a really good drive pedal. Take a warm bath. At number 186 is my JHS Unicorn Uni-Vibe. It's a tap tempo version of that classic pedal we saw earlier, which the GoodVibes is also based on. What is awesome and bragging point is this was the world's first ever tap tempo Uni-Vibe, and it uses the photocell and the bulb. So inside of it is a little light bulb with the photocells being controlled with a digital controller, keeping it all analog signal path. Unicorn comes from the idea that there's never been anything like it. It's a unicorn and then it's a Uni-Vibe. I thought it was clever. I look back on it. I don't know. I'm 50-50. I could go either way. Depends on the mood and if I've eaten. I think it's still a good name. I think some people just don't like unicorns on their stuff. I don't know. They're insecure. At number 181 from Japan, the greatest pedal company ever, that's my opinion, is Boss, and it is the MT2 Wazacraft Metal Zone. The Metal Zone, this pedal, is the most hated pedal ever. Like, it's so hated, it's insane. Yet they've sold 20 trillion of them. There was a space expedition to Mars, and they found 3 metal zones. Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying about liking and using the Metal Zone. But let me challenge you as a guitarist. Unless you have plugged into the Waza version and gone to the custom mode and used it for low gain, medium gain, and distortion, I forbid you to ever talk bad about the Metal Zone. No more words. You're done. At number 171 is the 3 Series Chorus. Thanks. Like, really, thank you. Very proud of this. 99 bucks. It's classic syrupy 80s chorus, which is now back. Kind of cool. Every pop song has chorus on it now. And then you flip the switch up. My personal favorite mode, it's vibrato. It removes the clean tone and it sounds really close and in the family of the Boss VB2, which is like $1,000 now, which is crazy, but it's pitch vibrato. And just a little hint. If you have a vibrato pedal or you have this, set the speed really low, the depth kind of nominal, put your volume there, just leave it on. It makes your guitar feel 3D. It's like a more good effect. You don't need it, but when you turn it off, you want it back. At number 161 is a Boss pedal that I got real excited about. Like, I got giddy about it when I saw it. So, Boss created the first ever compact digital delay with the DD2. Boss did a lot of things first because they had access to technology first. Now, the DD2 was amazing. Then they made the DD3. Here's a vintage DD3. And the DD3 is this stuff of legend and argument as being the greatest of the greatest digital delays. Whatever. They skipped DD4. There's a reason for that. I might not tell you and let it haunt you. There's only one pedal in Boss's line with the number 4. I know why. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to let it haunt you. Argue about it in the comments. Then they go to DD5. DD5 was the best delay because it was the DD3 essentially with tap tempo, and it had a jack on it, and it was the first tap tempo delay pedal ever. And I used that pedal for a long time. They got expensive and blah, blah, blah. But here's what Boss does. I think this was like a year or two ago. They put out the DD3T, DD3 tap tempo. So this is like a DD5 reissue without them saying DD5. If you want a tap tempo delay, you don't need all the bells and whistles, and you're boring like I am, this is probably the best delay you could buy. At 156, we have the Eventide, or as many of you like to say, Eventide. I don't know. Honestly, it's like Pasty, Diodario, Didario. I don't know. I gave up a long time ago. So the H9 is probably the most well done, perfect multi-effects processor ever with iPhone or smartphone app integration. This is the ultimate put it on your board, catch all extra effect. I've used it for years in that way. Just put it on, like put your tremolos in it, put choruses, vibratos. It's great for session work. It has a digital display. The algorithms are pristine. Like their digital stuff is baller. It's on the list because it's awesome. Yeah. I think it should be higher. I'm a little disappointed in you as Sweetwater customers. I'm going to tell Sweetwater. Mr. Sweetwater is not going to let you buy stuff anymore because this should be in the top 50. At 151, we have the JHS Pack Rat. I don't want to give away the future here, but I'm not going to go into historical detail because maybe I need to do that later. Because maybe the rat's on the list. I can't give away my secrets. I'm proud of this. It's a ton of accurately reproduced all analog vintage rat pedals in one pedal that you click through the settings. Just go to the channel, JHS Show, and type in History of the Rat. I did an incredibly nerdy like mini documentary on this. And there's like an essay with photos of employees, the old Proco factory. This was a whole project for me. I interviewed tons of employees and like did this whole Ken Burns thing. It was fun. Yeah, it's the only time I've been happy. At 149, there is the JHS Color Box. Super cool. This pedal is the pedal I'm most proud of with JHS because it's hard to do original things, and I even don't think we should try sometimes. We should just have fun. But this was the most original idea ever, and it came from me wanting to have my live guitar sound like the Beatles' White Album or Wilco or Spoon, specifically a song called Beast and Dragon Adored off of an album called Gimme Fiction, where the guitar is plugged straight into a Neve sidecar or preamp. And this is a technique called DIN, distortion, that you've heard on tons of stuff, like tons of records. And the trick is, how do you get your guitar with a speaker and all that through an amp to sound like a DIN guitar? Well, that's where this started, and that's really the red section. And then it was just a period of life where I was learning and collaborating with another engineer, and we just created this monstrous preamp. It has two transformers, input and output transformer, XLR through, phantom power through. People use this on vocals, front of house. I've seen like major tours where every person in the band has a color box on their synths, on their bass, on their acoustics. It's really cool, and it's a real honor that it's on the list. So if you haven't checked out the color box, check it out. And it has a little brother, which is just that distortion part I talked about, the DIN part. It's called the Crayon. This, however, does tons of clean things like overdriving, clean boost. It does a lot more than that one sound. But yeah, check it out. At 147, we have the Boss CS3 Compression Sustainer. It's really hard to beat this pedal. There's a lot of compressors on the market. I've made them, friends have made compressors, but at the end of the day, this 4-knob Boss pedal is on so many boards, so many pros, so many records. It starts back with the CS1, and they just kept evolving. This is around 1980. They still make this today. For the price, for the function, the low noise, the quality of it. Yeah, if you're wanting to try compressors and you're into really compressed clean tones and things, It's hard to beat this. They call it compression sustainer. That's a little misleading. It's not misleading. It is accurate, but a lot of times people confuse that sustaining violin tone they hear on like Santana when that's actually a big muff sustaining. This is totally clean. Just keep that in mind. So you're not going to plug into this and have some searing violin distorted tone. The sustain means that it's grabbing the note, holding it, and just lightly letting it go over an extended period. It's a totally clean effect. Really cool. Next up at 142, we're getting down this list, is the Whammy 5. The Whammy is a wonderful effect that I've had on my board for years. I first heard it on My Iron Lung, where Johnny Greenwood plays this with the toe down, octave up as the main guitar riff. It's a Radiohead song on an album called The Bins. And from that point, I used it constantly, a little too much. I think I got fired from some gigs because I wouldn't turn it off. But it's an amazing pedal. The history of it's even cooler. There's a company named DOD from Salt Lake City. And long story short, they start in 73, 74. DOD decides later in the 80s they need to do digital pedals because digital was a thing. So they create a digital division of DOD. They called it Digitech. So Digitech is DOD, but the digital side of it. And in 1989, after they had released some kind of strange first version ideas for the digital world, they hired a company up in Canada to design this DSP, and they made a product called the Whammy. The very first versions are smaller, very rare, very expensive, and it was a flop. It didn't do very well, and it was pretty much on the discontinued table until a band called Rage Against the Machine used it. So Rage Against the Machine saved the Whammy. Steve Vai came along, saved the Whammy. I guess they could call themselves Rage Against the Discontinuation of the Whammy. That'd be like a really good band name because they did that. Number 133 from the Midwestern shores of Oklahoma, we have the Julia. There's a V2 of this as well. I'm not going to get hung up on the semantics. Is that semantics? No, it's just version numbers. This is the V1. There's a V2. The V2 is at 133, and that's amazing. I love Walrus. They're amazing people. Talk to them all the time. I like this brand. I like what they're doing, and this is a classic analog chorus with the Walrus vibe. I don't know what else to call it. Walrus has a vibe. They do a thing. It's part aesthetic. It's part user interface. And it's just how their pedals operate and function, I think, are really beautiful. They're great. They're a huge addition to the modern pedal world. So check out the Julia if you like chorus sounds. You can be Bryan Adams with this, or Kurt Cobain, or like you could be Harry Styles' guitar player. You just pick. It's up to you. At 131, we have the Boss TR2. If you want a tremolo pedal and you want it to work and do every tremolo sound, and you want it to be simple, affordable, and last through the apocalypse, just buy a TR2. I was in a Nashville bathroom at a restaurant one time. I walked in, they had wallpaper up, musical wallpaper, it had like guitars and stuff. It had a TR2 on the wallpaper. What pedal has wallpaper? None. Buy this stupid pedal. It has its own wallpaper in a restaurant in Nashville that I can't remember the name of, but that's not the point. Wallpaper. If it's good enough for wallpaper, it's good enough for you. At 130, we have another JHS 3 series. Thank you. This is cool because when I did this, I wanted to do a reverb pedal that was big, ambient, tons of decay. We never had that in our line, ironically. After 15 years, you would think I would have more reverb pedals. I actually just have never focused on them. So this algorithm in here is unique. And what happened is we were designing it. There was a line of code that was slightly wrong, but it gave it this strange glitchy thing on the tail way off in the decay, and we left it, and it's wonderful. So it's this big ambient, just spacey reverb. It'll do like you're playing guitar in a toilet or a shower. It does that stuff, but it really excels at the big decaying strange reverb. It's a type of plate, but it kind of almost feels more like Hall. It's just unique. I think it's a really unique reverb pedal. 99 bucks. At 123, we have an MXR pedal that's not an MXR circuit. It is the MXR Custom Shop Timmy. The Timmy is one of, if not, it's up there. When it comes to boutique overdrives made by a person, small batch, exceptional quality, prestigious cult following, the Timmy is on top of the list, up there with the Klon and everything else. You see this guy here, basically George Trips, who came over from Way Huge. He went to line 6, right? And then he leaves line 6 and he goes to Dunlop, MXR, same company, and they start doing some fun stuff. And he gets a hold of Paul Cochran, the designer of the Timmy. He goes, hey, let us do a version of this that's accessible to the public, and we can put it in stores like Sweetwater, so you can actually buy this and not have to wait. So they did it, and it's super cool. It's dead on, really accurate. This all really started with a pedal called the Tim. This is way back in the boutique era when it all started. Paul Cochran is such a sweet dude. He makes all of these by hand in his garage in Nashville. I've had many conversations over the years with him. He's the real deal, and it's really exciting to see him collaborate with such a legendary company like MXR. So this is almost just more of a congratulations to Paul than even telling you to buy it. Like, you should buy it anyway, but you should also just be happy for Paul. Go buy the Timmy. At 113 is a TC Electronic pedal that is interesting because it comes from a synthesizer that Roland made. That's confusing, but don't let it really bother you. There was the Juno synthesizer, and inside of it, there was a beautiful chorus sound that you hit these two buttons. They took that and made it into a pedal because why not? And I think it's like free. Like, it's so cheap. Like, I think it's like $1. Like, go to Sweetwater, type in June 60. I think Sweetwater pays you to buy this. Like, it's super cheap. It has faux wood paneling. I'm a fan of it. 2 buttons too. Like, if you're one of these people that get like hung up with decisions, not much to choose from here. It just sounds good. No matter what you do, it's good. Buy it. At 110 from Rochester again. Did I mention I have an ashtray? Like a vintage ashtray? No big deal. I don't want to brag about it, but it is the MXR Dynacomp. This is the most famous, most important, and most cloned compressor in the history of compressors. We have the Ross compressor, which is this compressor, just cloned. I could just name tons of compressors. My 3 Series compressor is a variation of this topology. The original scripts are very coveted. The sonic differences, I don't know. I think it just looks better, and so therefore it sounds better. I don't know. Guitarists are weird. You're all very weird. So it's at 110, and I think it's actually shockingly, I don't like that. It needs to be down in the 50s. Again, I'm disappointed in you as a purchaser. All of you are not purchasing the right things. And I come back and do this in 10 years. If this isn't in the top 50, I'm burning this place to the ground. At number 106 from TC Electronics, I'm so excited to see TC in this. They're brilliant. I love their circuits. They released a pedal years ago called the Sub and Up, and it's a take on the octave effect. And then they made a mini, the Sub and Up Mini. First of all, it's mini. Look how mini this is. I'm huge, so this is really mini. Look at it compared to my head. Look how small. This is awesome. It has dry, sub-octave, and up-octave. So it's kind of their take on competing with the Micropog. So really it comes down to preference, how you like the tracking and stuff like that. The tracking is phenomenal on this. It has a USB port, so you can do stuff. You can probably charge your cell phone or like import skins. I don't know. You could do like, you could probably play a YouTube video through it because it has a USB port. 106. We're gonna do this video. We're still going. I got a life to live, so we gotta hurry up. Let's move on. At number 95 is a Boss pedal that's out of stock because you've done your job and bought the right pedals. But it all started with the OC2. This is a made in Japan black label unit legendary octave pedal that changed the game. The OC5 is so much better than this. This is cool because it's glitchy and interesting, and people like bass players love this. But the OC5, I wish I had one, but you keep buying them, and that's okay. If you need an octave pedal, I know I just showed the 7-Up. You should buy all these pedals. Let me say that. I expect everyone to buy 500 pedals immediately. Okay? There can be no partiality here. Pull out your wallet. Do what you got to do. For me, buy every pedal I'm mentioning. And if you don't, I don't know. I got to quit threatening people. We're doing this. We're at number 89. It is the Strymon El Capistan or El Capistan. I don't know. It's the Pasty Paisty Diodario Moog thing. I don't know. It's one of those names. I'm going to say El Capistan. I actually don't even know what that means. But this is my favorite tape delay pedal. So it emulates a tape delay. On the screen right now, these amazing Sweetwater editors are going to put a picture of a tape delay. My preference of the picture would be a Maestro EP1. They can do their own thing. They could put an EP3. If they put an EP2, I'll be disappointed. But there's a picture of a tape delay. This emulates that. It's the sound of tape being recorded. And because tape is weird and there's an analogness to how it's mechanical parts and pulleys and ball bearings, it actually will flutter and like grab and not be smooth, and it causes a chorusy effect. So you can do all that here. This actually emulates how the tape machines wear out. It's really cool. So it has reverb. I didn't know this, but I learned it, years ago after using it for a while. There's a setting where you have spring reverb in it too. Strymon, man. I had someone ask me, you never talk about Strymon. Do you hate them? Just the kind of stuff I deal with in the comments. No, I don't hate Strymon. It's official. Buy this pedal. At number 86, we have a pedal that's out of stock. It's sad, it's depressing, I hate it, but it's one of the cooler pedals ever made because it's probably the most original pedal made in the last 20 years. That actually came out of my mouth and I'm standing by it. It's the Electro-Harmonix freeze pedal. You play a note, you hit it, it holds it. It's crazy. Then they have like the Super Ego, which is an expansion of that tech. Again, Electro-Harmonix is like this sleeper, mad scientist DSP thing. People don't talk about them enough. And you know what it is? It's because you're all snobs. You think if a pedal's $1,000, it's better than a pedal that's $100. And you're the ones doing this. You need to give Electro-Harmonix more credit. They're making their stuff more affordable. That doesn't mean it's not as good. They're just doing a different method. I feel like I've completely repped EH here. Like I should be getting a check in the mail. This is not planned. Mike, if you're watching this, you have my address. I don't know. Send me some cigars or something. Like anything. Or nothing. We're friends. It's cool. It's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, the next pedal is yours as well. At number 75 is the first Klon clone. In a world where the Klon Centaur is the new Tube Screamer, meaning it's the most clone pedal ever, it is the trendiest thing, what everybody wants. Electro-Harmonix put out the Soul Food. It's like $100. It was one of the first mass manufactured Klon clones ever. It's really good. Soul Food's a reference to like Southern cooking, which I get down with. I'm from Alabama. Fried chicken, some greens, hot sauce in the greens, some cornbread. I don't know. I don't know how it connects. I mean, the Klon's a centaur. Oh, I get it. Centaur is like a horse thing. You could kill a centaur and then you could eat it. You could have like soul food centaur. But the human part would be weird because you'd be a cannibal. But maybe you could just eat the bottom of the centaur. So like if I made centaur soul food, am I a cannibal? This like super escalated. I don't want to continue this talk. Anyway, it comes from the Klon Centaur. This is the first Klon ever made. A lot of you have seen this. 1995, Boston, Massachusetts. A guy named Bill Finnegan creates this with an MIT guy. That's like insane for a guitar pedal. It's beautiful. It's insanely cool. It's not magical, but it is one of my favorite pedals. And it's very clonable. They sell for like $5,000 to $10,000 now. That's the other problem. $5,000 to $10,000. 100. I'm not a mathematician, but they sound the same. That's like 12 cups of coffee, 1 cup of coffee. At number 74, we have the Boss RV6. RV stands for reverb. It is the 6th model number, but they skipped 4. There's not an RV4. It's like, I know why, but I just don't want to say it. You know, some things you learn. Life is about knowing secrets and withholding them. It's about being powerful. Knowledge is power. I don't know. I'm a giving person. I just don't want to tell you where the 4 comes from, because it's like a little thing that I like. You know, every night I lay down and go, I know, and they don't know. Anyway, it starts with the RV2, the first compact digital reverb, RV3, RV5, and then RV6. It has all the reverbs, and it's small and affordable, and it's Boss, so just buy it. At number 69 is one of my most proud feats, or it's one of the feats I'm most proudest of. That was a good edit there. It's the JHS Bonsai. This is 9 tube screamers, a real 808, the real TS9. These are actually the vintage units, these yellow stickers from my library. These are the models. So when you turn to the 808, it's this. I took it apart, frequency analyzed it, replicated it perfectly. You're getting this unit. You're not like getting an 808, you're actually getting my 808 and this TS9 from the collection, and then all these others. So it's a really cool feat. It's like that pack rat I showed you, but it's all these analog circuits controlled with a digital railway. Really proud of it, and it's so cool to see it at that number on the list, 69. That's a real honor. Thank you. This is that moment when I realize I know so much stuff, it's painful. At number 66, I need to pull it out for it. At number 66 is the Boss CE2W Wazacraft. They took their most famous chorus pedal. This is a really important chorus topology because, to be quite honest, most every single chorus pedal that's analog is based off of this topology. And it's based off this topology because back when they released it, here's an original unit in the box. Silver screw, long dash, that's how you know it's the first units. Black sticker. They got the parts first. The parts have to be operated in a certain way to make chorus, so they were the first, therefore everyone after is some form of clone, right? And that's how the world works. It's not invention, it's more evolution. So we keep evolving from things that are the start. This is a really great pedal. If you want to do it all classic chorus pedal, it's hard to beat this because it is just such a classic thing. The color, it's beautiful. It just has, there's a nostalgia with this. There's just something about, like, for me especially, it just feels right. If it's good enough for The Cure and Robert Smith and Prince, like, this is a good enough chorus for you. At number 52 is the pedal that allows me to sit here and talk to you and has allowed me to have a company that employs 40 plus people and have this career. So I'm very thankful for that. It is the JHS Morning Glory. This is one of my first original designs. We have made thousands and thousands of this pedal, so I owe a lot of you a huge thanks for supporting this company and what we do in Kansas City, and that's really special to me. So this came from my use of a classic blues breaker. These are called the black box blues breakers. They're made in England, and this was supposed to replicate the sound of the JTM combo on the Eric Clapton Blues Breakers record. It's actually John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and Clapton's on the front. He's holding a comic book. It's a really influential record from 1966. And they go and they do these pedals and they put this out, and I don't think it quite sounds like the amp, but I did an entire deep dive nerd fest on this subject. It's called What is a Blues Breaker? So if you go to my YouTube channel, I went all the way with it. It's ridiculous, but we talk about the Blues Breaker. But the Morning Glory is the ultimate overdrive pedal for anyone who wants to turn on a pedal and have a little more dirt, but the guitar sounds the same and the amp sounds the same. There's no mid hump like a tube screamer. It's loud, it's clean, it has a remote jack, so you can activate this remotely, which gives you a little higher gain. I leave it on all the time. I think it's a leave on all the time drive pedal, but I've seen people stack them. I've seen people use it in different ways. It's number 52, so thanks for that. Making our way down the list, we're skipping a lot of cool stuff, and that's painful, but I'm moving on. Number 47 is a very important pedal. Before this pedal, there had never been an affordable, easy to use, durable, and accessible analog bucket brigade delay pedal. So a simple delay pedal that you can afford that sounds right. It's the MXR carbon copy analog delay. I'm actually shocked this isn't in the top 10. This is cool. Here's a prototype. I have a prototype to this. I peruse the earth for things all over the earth, constantly roaming to and fro. This is really cool. Thanks to George Trips for sending me this, but it apparently was like in a Dynacomp. Yeah, it's in a Dynacomp enclosure. They scratched it out. That's kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe I care. Maybe you don't care. But you should check this out because it's cool, affordable, and sounds fantastic. At number 40, we have another Earthquaker pedal, and it's no surprise to me because this pedal, in a lot of ways, gave me the guts to do the 3 Series because I had the 3 Series idea. I was working through that concept of can a $99 pedal exist from a US small company, right? Can that happen? And Earthquaker puts out the Plumes, which is their take on the Tube Screamer. It's Jamie's mods and his take of a Tube Screamer for $99. And it made me go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to do this because it's successful. Like you guys wanted this. And I think there's been such an interesting acceptance of this idea that companies like myself or Jamie or Robert Keeley or whoever can do more affordable pedals, and you understand that they're still high quality because we're making them in America. And the Plumes is awesome. If you like overdrives, if you like overdrives with mids that cut through a mix, check the Plumes out. It's a wonderful alternative to just buying a TS9 because it is way more versatile. At number 36 is an Electro-Harmonix pedal, but it's a fuzz pedal. So that's, I think, new to the list. We've seen a lot of VH stuff, and rightly so. The company's amazing. This is the Op-Amp Big Muff. It has a street term called the Pumpkin Big Muff, pumpkin pie. And the reason it's given this name is because Billy Corgan used this model circuit that's inside of here on Smashing Pumpkins recordings. Now, what is this and how is it different than a Big Muff? It's an op-amp Big Muff. So Big Muffs use transistor stages, multiple stages, one transistor into another, and that creates fuzz. But in the 70s, this project was assigned to an engineer named Howard Davis. I actually interviewed Howard, and his thing was, hey, can we make a Big Muff with the one chip instead of the multiple transistors for cost savings? And he did this, and for about 2 years, you see this come out. This is an op-amp Big Muff. It looks just like a Big Muff. This one's beat up and has, this was Wilco's. It has all kinds of scratches and stuff. But you'll notice there's like a tone bypass switch, and there's some other hints that the inside of this is different. So this is a version 5 op-amp Big Muff from 1978, and that's what this replicates. And if you love grunge, Smashing Pumpkins and stuff, it's a little more aggressive, and it's just a cool piece of the Big Muff pie. See what I did there? That was awesome. My favorite memory of the interview with Howard is he had no idea that the Smashing Pumpkins used it. He was clueless. He didn't think anybody cared about it. And I got to sit and tell him how awesome his design was, and that it was like epic, and how much people appreciated this, and it like made his day. That was awesome. Oh, we're so close, y'all. At number 33 from TC Electronics is the Hall of Fame 2. There's not really a historical reference. It's just the reference is TC Electronics has amazing digital algorithms and their digital processing is second to none. This is their reverb pedal and it's version 2. You get shimmer, modulation, lo-fi, spring, plate, hall, room. You have this smash button, which you can do different things with by holding it down. It has a USB port. You can load in artist presets, short, long delay, and the price point's absurd. Like, I don't know how they make it this quality at this price and maintain what it is. So, yeah, I mean, number 33. That's cool. Hall of Fame. If you want a really versatile reverb, this is one of the first places I would look. At number 25 is probably the most legendary boutique overdrive distortion pedal ever made. It is the Full Tone OCD. We're currently out of stock at that here at Sweetwater. I love that I keep saying we're currently. I don't work here. I don't get paid for this. I'm just doing it because I'm a nerd, but I feel like because I'm sitting here, I'm part of it. So we're out of it right now. There's a picture of it on the screen. It is the Obsessive Compulsive Drive, OCD. It's just known for being an amazing drive pedal that works with any amp. And I think that's true. A lot of you don't realize it is actually a variation on the Voodoo Lab Overdrive. This is different than the Sparkle Drive. A lot of you are seeing that in your head right now. This was discontinued early because nobody cared, but then Mike Fuller took it and made an amazing, much more complex circuit out of it. And this is a derivative of the DoD 250. So there's a family tree out there in pedal universe somewhere. Starts with the 250, the DoD, turns into this, and then you have the OCD. That doesn't really do anything for us to know that, but now you know. At number 14, we have a pedal designed by a really fantastic Japanese engineer named Tsutsuro Tamuro. Tsutsuro Tamuro. Let me look on my phone here. Paul Gilbert's been trying to teach me to speak Japanese, and it's very difficult. It is Susumu Tamura. Susumu Tamura. Thanks, Paul Gilbert. He came up with the TS9, which was a modification variant of the topology of the Boss OD1. The TS9 is the kind of pedal that we want to send into space. Like, if we want aliens and other universes to understand guitar, we send this because it's either this or the Big Muff. I think it's this, though. I think the color is more pleasurable to an alien because it's green, and green means life, and they would see this and be like, oh, that tone's alive. I think that's what would happen. So the TS9 is an incredible pedal. You hear it on everything from Tom Petty to Stevie Ray Vaughan to John Mayer to like Iron Maiden. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. A lot of people use it as an overdrive, so you don't have to turn your amp up and kill people with the volume, but you can put it in front of a wall of Marshalls for metal and just push it like a preamp. It's really nice. This jack is loose because it's like 50 years old. It's actually 1983. I was born in 82. 39 years, the jack just came loose. Pretty good quality, I guess. I think so. That's good quality. At number 12 is an iconic pedal. It exists in closets everywhere. It's in the trunk of cars. It's in the library. It's even in dumpsters. It is the Boss DS1. You cannot escape it. It is all consuming. It will never go away. It will survive all elements. The earth shall end, and the DS1 will float alone in space, orbiting the sun, creating its own life forms, planets. It is distortion. That was beautiful. Really good. Here's a silver screw. This is a first-year issue. It came out in 1979. Notice the longer dash. That's how you know. Silver screw, first issues. I didn't want to say this, but I walked into the used gear section at Sweetwater, and I bought a silver screw the other day for $44. They mislabeled it. I didn't tell them. It's not my fault. And I don't need it. Now I have like 12. I like bragging about stuff like that. Like a $44 long dash DS1. Come on, Sweetwater. Before I move on to number 10, I forgot to mention that I also collect these Boss backpacks. This one's never been opened. These are from the 90s. Again, it's unnecessary information, but I'm a little shocked I didn't do the Blues Driver. The Blues Driver is definitely on the list. I think I missed it, but whatever. Look at the backpacks. Isn't that cool? It has nothing to do with any of this. It's just that they have backpacks. Like, how sick is it? I don't have backpacks. If you're a pedal company and you don't have a backpack for your pedals, you don't deserve to exist. Crap. At number 10, we have the Crybaby Wah-Wah. This pedal goes wah-wah. It is heard on Shaft. It is heard on Hendrix. It is heard on Rage Against the Machine. It has annoyed people for decades, and it has also been awesome. It's a love or hate thing. So the wah pedal's really cool. I have right here one of the first 50 wah pedals ever made in history. If you look, it's the Vox Wah-Wah. You pull it out. It says wah-wah with a sticker. Then there's a plate here. It says 1966. This is how I know, because the wah was a accidental evolution of a technology. There's a guy named Dick Denny. He designed the AC-15 and the AC-30, and he was a true genius in guitar who does not get appreciated enough. And the Beatles in 1974 played before 70 million people on Ed Sullivan, and what amp did they use? They used a Vox. So you can imagine what happens to Vox. Vox explodes. They were a little mom and pop thing. Vox Jennings, really. They were big in England, but they were still small. They weren't huge. But when the Beatles showed up on that stage, it changed the world. Vox explodes, and they open a California manufacturing plant in basically LA, Van Nuys. And in this section of town, they have this warehouse, and the session player keeps going in and out. He hears the noise of a tech moving the mids control of an amplifier, and he says, oh my gosh, can you throw that in one of those Vox organ volume pedals? Because Vox made the Continental organ, the Jaguar, and they had a volume pedal. This is in fact one of those volume pedals. And you would do this and it would turn the organ up and down. So they took the mids control out of the amp, threw it in here, and they created the wah-wah. And this is one of the very first ones ever made. This is technically a prototype. I found it in Hollywood, had to restore it, but it's super cool. It's done with a sticker. And wah is like that pedal you gotta get when you first play guitar, and then you get tired of it, and then you realize later it can be a really effective tool for leaving it on and using it to like push the mids or do like fun filter effects. So I don't use wah enough. I think I should start using it more, and you should too. So check out the Crybaby. Don't get hung up on Vox versus Crybaby. A little secret is that Crybaby was actually just part of Vox. You won't read that on the gear page. They want to argue over stuff. A wah is basically a wah, but there are some differences. But, you know, stop sweating it and just buy one. All right, last two. This top 10 is difficult because I want to show a few more things. Like, you know, I'll say the Ditto Looper's in here. There's like some volume pedals, because you have to think like pedals aren't always what we want them to be. Sometimes utilities sell really well. But this next one, this is my second to last. So I'm going to share the number 1 with you, and it's really cool. But the one before it, I would say this is the number 2, because everything in between is like, it's a couple looper pedals, the Boss RC1, the Ditto, etc., etc. There's actually 2 Dittos. So loopers are a big deal, but I don't want to cover that here. They're not exciting enough right now. So this pedal is at number 8, but in reality, when we think of guitar pedals, it's number 2 on the list. And this shocked me, but in hindsight, it shouldn't have. It is the Proco Rat. That's wild. The Rat. I love the Rat. The Rat's cool because it does everything from clean tones to fuzzed out tones. You hear it on Coldplay Parachutes or Rush of Blood to the Head, but you also hear it on Pink Floyd. You hear it on grunge records. You hear it on Nevermind, Nirvana. You hear it on Weezer and Blur, REM, John Schofield for jazz. It is a monstrously versatile distortion box, and if you're not aware of that, you're really missing out. And I think a lot of people are becoming aware. It all really started in the late 70s in Kalamazoo, Michigan, not far from Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I'm at. This is the prototype rat. There's probably 2-3 of these left on Earth. This is called the Bud Box. It was built into an electronics Bud Box. This is 1978. It's screen printed, spray painted, and this is the first rat. Really, really cool piece of history, and it really has not changed at all, and that's exciting. So I'm really glad to see the rat be at number 8, which is really number 2. Numbers are complicated, but you get the point. Here comes number 1. This is hilarious. All right. Here's the moment you've been waiting for. I've been filming this for like 3 straight days, it feels like. I haven't eaten, drank any water. I'm at death's door trying to get through this. Here I am, number 1. I'm actually responsible for this. The irony of this is comical. You ready? Drum roll. The Behringer, yes, the Behringer SF300 Super Fuzz. Little did I know when I did my What's the Deal with Behringer episode, that's at millions of views right now, that I would say, I can't tell you the number. I'm not going to disclose the number. I did hack Sweetwater. I think I heard there's some security guards looking for me. I'm trapped in here in this video room. Some film guys are taken hostage. They can't find me yet. I don't want to disclose the number. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's like more than double the other stuff. I mean, it's like $25 now. I don't understand that. I can't even buy a burger for $25. That's like a tenth of a cup of coffee. I don't know how they do this. Level, treble, gain, mode, bass, fuzz, 1, 2, and boost. So this is ironically a copy of a Boss Fuzz pedal that was a copy of the Uni-Vibe Super Fuzz. So what you end up with is you have a really sonically, dare I say, perfect replica of the Uni-Vibe Super Fuzz. This is $1,000 vintage fuzz. There's different versions of this, but this is made really famous. It's octave, it's fuzz, it's awesome. And the price is nuts, and that's the best-selling pedal in Sweetwater's history. I had lunch today with some management. I think Sweetwater made like $10 off all of these total. Like they made no money. Like there's no margin. When you're buying these, they're like paying you to take them. It's amazing. That's been it. It's my favorites within the top 500 best-selling pedals in Sweetwater history. Sweetwater is really important to the music industry. What Chuck started out of this Volkswagen van, what it's evolved into today, the service that they have, the customer support, it's second to none. Amazing crew, everything they're doing. And it's really cool to see how pedals have played out through this. My list is actually over 1,000, and it's just super cool to see. And it's really an honor to be a part of it as well. But go check these pedals out. When pedals sell at these quantities and are this high on the list, it's more than a fad. So anything you've seen in this video today, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. You can buy it and be sure that you're going to like it. And that's it. I'm going to go sleep now. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go eat, change clothes, live my life. I'm out. Bye.